Councilman Hockaday, welcome to Cocktails and Convo. It's a pleasure to have you here.
It's an extreme pleasure. The honor's all mine, Dr. Rux.
Oh, man, thank you so much. I know you're a busy man out there in those Jersey streets. Congratulations are in order. Congratulations on your recent re-election. But look, before we get into our dialogue, this is Cocktails and Convo, so it's only right that we begin with a toast. I got peaches and cream right here. Whatever you got over there is fine, but let us toast to your recent victory, to brotherhood, and iron continuing to sharpen iron.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So we're going to jump right in. I know you put in a lot of work. I want you to just talk about that win. How you feeling right now?
You know, it's, first of all, humble. You know, anytime, a city rallies behind you to elect you to a position, you feel humble. You feel that sense of duty to make sure that you deliver the goods for the community. So I feel that, but certainly grateful as well. You put yourself out there when you run for an election. You're all over social media. You give it all you have, and you want to bring it home for the team. And fortunately, we were able to do that. Me and my running mate, Charles McCray, who's also a member of my fraternity as well, Kappa Alpha Psi.
All right.
We both were successful in this most recent election in Plainfield.
Well, look, congratulations to both of you. And I actually got a hold of this video, which I think just may capture how humble you were feeling after that win. Let's take a look.
Yeah, I was walking with my campaign manager through a part of the Fourth Ward, Joanne Hollis community, and the neighbors, they were having a socially distanced barbecue, and
Right.
No matter where I am, when the music goes, whether it's Afro beats, whether it's merengue or salsa, I'm getting down on the floor. So the movement struck me, and my campaign manager happened to take a video of that, and she sent it to me maybe a week after I won, and said you should post this. And I did. So,
Well, you was having a moment. It definitely looked like you were having a good time.
There's no shortage of those moments. I feel like every interaction that I have with members of my community, most of the time they invite me in as if they're family, and I feel that, and we get down like we're family in the community.
Yeah. You know what? So I want to continue with we've known each other a long time. You know that we've been critical friends. We've supported each other's successes along the way. But I want to jump into where we first met at. I met you at a wonderful university, Delaware State University. Shout out to DSU. Two young black motivated individuals just trying to find their place in the world. I want you to just talk about the HBCU experience, what that meant to you, and if there's some people out there listening who may be considering an HBCU, what advice would you have for them?
So, first of all, Delaware State University is the place where I became a man. I was really immature coming into college, really not even knowing what I wanted to be in life. Quite interestingly, my major was electrical engineering in the beginning because my uncle was an electrician. And then I switched my major after the first year to English education. So EE to EE, but that's the only similarities there. But during that process, I grew up, and it was just joining organizations. It was really my first taste of community service was joining the student ambassadors. And we would put on these red blazers, and we would be ushers for things like the convocation, etc. And I enjoyed it. We were able to interact with people, with other professors, etc. and it was really one of my first instances of performing community service, and it was through Delaware State University, that pro-Black environment, that supportive environment where you have individuals from all over the region experiencing the varying types of Blackness. That was so big for me, to know that there just wasn't one type of African American or even African or anybody from the diaspora. There's so many types of us. We speak different, we eat different, we like different things. So to be able to experience the full cadre of Blackness at a HBCU was an experience that I think guides me even now as I go into different communities, even within Plainfield, whether it's West Indians, whether it's Latinos, whether it's just purely African American. These are all people that I can relate to, in part because of the melting pot that is Delaware State University.
That full cadre of Blackness. I like how you articulated that. And that was one of the things that stood out and was always special to me, and I keep it close to my heart. It's one of the few places where I could go every day and just see people who look like me, who are just striving to be successful. Yes. And it's so often when people talk about us or even Black men, it's with this negative connotation. But at a university, an HBCU such as Delaware State University, we were kings. We were kings and we were queens. And yeah, we
Absolutely.
made mistakes along the way, but we supported each other. And there's this bond, right? There's this bond that you get. And think about it, this is 25 plus years ago I met you and still connected today. So there's some lifelong friendships and relationships that get brewed and become the foundation from the college. And no disrespect to any other college or university, but to me, HBCU is where it's at, Delaware State
Absolutely.
University.
Without question.
You mentioned that you were actually an English major, and I remember you as a teacher. And
Yes.
you may not know this, but your beginning years as a teacher really set the foundation for me even paying attention to the field of education. So
Wow.
beginning as a teacher and now
Wow.
moving along in your trajectory as a elected official, what made you begin to turn the page and switch gears?
So it was really my students. Because when I was teaching, I stayed in Delaware for a little bit. I was at Central Middle School, but I had some really bright students. And your job, one of your primary jobs as a teacher is to spark minds of youth.
Absolutely.
And when you see things in youth that you can spark, it's on you to try to maximize their potential. But like any good teacher, you have to lead by example. So it became incumbent upon me to continue my education. I had only achieved a bachelor's at that point. And I knew that I could not preach to students about the value of education without doing the same myself. But I was at a crossroads. Right. I thought about taking the path that you took into educational administration, but I weighed that with doing something completely different. And law school won out in that analysis for me, mainly because it was the prospect of doing something that I had never dreamed of. I'd never even thought about being a lawyer growing up. It wasn't even something that was in the realm of possibilities. I didn't have a lawyer in my family at the time. I didn't know any lawyers besides ones that I or my family might have needed in times of crisis. So I didn't have any lawyer mentors. But going through Del State, I had a mentor, Dr. King. And I would talk to him about my future plans. And when I started to discuss law school with him, he was very encouraging about going ahead and doing that. I should also shout out my track coach, Mr. Anderson, because he was my high school track coach. And when I was teaching in Dover, I was a track coach as well, as soon as I graduated. And I would see my old high school track coach, and my Dover track coach was upset that I was leaving Dover to go to law school. But my high school track coach, he said, Hockaday, go ahead and get your law degree. Get your law degree, Hockaday. And that's what I did.
One of the things I hear you speaking about.
And it was a decision that I enjoyed.
Well, it was a great decision you made. And one of the things that's resonating with me as I'm listening to you speak is that idea that you had these mentors who were pouring into you. And I know, and I've spoke about it on previous episodes, the importance of having mentors. You know, there's something valuable. There's so much value to having people who've been where we are pour into us and believe in us. And those two gentlemen that you just mentioned had an impact on that trajectory that you just so clearly articulated. So shout out to all the mentors who are pouring into young children, pouring into people and inspiring them to be the best version of themselves. There's been a lot of talk. I'm sorry. There's been a lot of talk about reparations, right? And even more so now. So what are your thoughts right now regarding this idea of transferring wealth to blacks and investing more in black communities? Let's talk about it.
Reparations. Wow. I mean, that's a great question. When you look back, there have been other instances of other ethnic groups that have received reparations, but we haven't. And certainly in terms of the trauma that persists from our continued depression, our continued, how could I say it? The systematic oppression, I should say, has been a difficult experience for us, and it wreaks havoc in varying ways consistently. So if there was ever a group of people who deserved reparations, it's African Americans.
Well, listen, your boy T.I. has been going hard advocating for the Lloyds of London Bank to pay 10% to the descendants of African slaves. Let's take a listen.
The descendants of the slaves that they insured and that were brought here due to the transatlantic slave trade. Us, the descendants, I believe, are entitled to at least 10% of Lloyds of London, the entity, in perpetuity, because they built this empire off of the blood, sweat, and tears and the backs of our ancestors. Okay, and they're given, and not just slavery, all of the things that come after slavery. Whether it's Jim Crow, segregation, even right now, the police brutality and everything that we deal with. War on drugs, everything, all of it, mass incarceration, all of it. You know what I'm saying? Us being poverty stricken, all of that is a result of their participation in the transatlantic slave trade. So their empire, their $56.8 billion is all fruit from a poisonous tree.
Let's toast to that.
Absolutely. Cheers. What do you think about that?
Listen, it's a creative idea. We know we'll probably have to sue them to actually get that to happen.
I hear the lawyer talking.
That probably would need to be some litigation because one thing I know, there's a saying that power concedes nothing without a demand. So, and a demand doesn't necessarily come in just asking for it or just mentioning it, or just going on public media. But sometimes you got to take legal action to actually force them to do that. There has to be a lot of pressure in order to get that type of money from an institution. But we deserve it. We deserve it.
Interestingly enough, you hit it right on the head. T.I. goes on to mention in that same interview, he's like, no, we're not willing to take what you want to give to us. We're demanding this 10% and we need to get it. We're not asking, we're demanding. And because we're demanding, it should be given to us. So it's definitely getting some buzz around it. And I think he just may be on to something. I'm looking forward to seeing where that conversation goes. We're going to take a pause. We'll be right back with the People Want to Know. Welcome back to Cocktails and Convo, and now it's time for the People Want to Know. What you know is just a segment where we take random questions from anybody, and Councilman Hockaday will help me out with the answers. So first, we have Jasmine from Virginia. She wants to know who is better, Black Mike or white Mike?
White Mike?
Black, white, or white Mike? I mean, that's what Jasmine from Virginia asked.
You know, I'm always going to bet on black. So that's an easy question. Black Mike.
Black Mike. Black Mike did have some heat. I mean, Black Mike, that was Thriller, Billie Jean. What else is Black Mike? Black Mike, I don't know. See, I'm sitting there debating right now because now I'm thinking about Remember the Time. I'm thinking about Smooth Criminal, Keep It in the Closet.
Hold on, but what about Pretty Young Thing? You know, Don't Stop Till You Get Enough.
Okay.
You know,
Human Nature.
Human Nature, yes.
That's tough.
Like, come on.
That's a tough one. I don't know, but I gotta say,
so
Remember the Time
here's
is
a
my
follow-up
favorite
question.
MJ song.
Was Thriller Black Mike or White Mike? It's like a transition period there.
It was a transition period, but I gotta give Thriller to Black Mike though.
That's Black Mike right there.
Thriller's Black Mike. Thriller is Black Mike.
Okay.
And that's my second
so you gotta
favorite
go with Black
Mike song.
What'd you say?
Thriller's my second favorite Mike song. Remember the Time is my first favorite. So I'm split down the middle. But you said bet on black. So Jasmine, you heard it from the councilman. Bet on black all day. So Natalie from Atlanta wants to know, if Donald Trump offered you a job, would you take it?
I'm trying to imagine a circumstance where I would take a job from that man. I'm struggling to think of any job that he could give me. I would never work for him or his administration in a private or public capacity. He has no integrity. So there's no way I can work with somebody who has no integrity. And furthermore, he's just not for our people. You know, I'm the type of individual. I'm for our people. I love black and brown people. I'm for the historically oppressed. So it's no way that, you know, I mean, there's some people that feel like you need to be on the inside, and sometimes you can make change from the inside in certain circumstances. And I do believe that to be true, especially with my friends who might be prosecutors or friends that are in a U.S. attorney's office who are essentially working for Donald Trump, being that he's the top cop, you know, as president. You know, but that's a little different, you know. But working for him and his administration is not something that I would ever entertain.
Yeah, I second that. I can't picture a position that he'd offer me that I would say, okay, I just can't see it too. And just like you said, you are for the people, and he is absolutely not. And just that alone is enough. So now,
what about Secretary of Education? If he offered you something,
now that's funny you said that. I was actually going to respond more specifically. Even if Donald Trump offered me the Secretary of Education position based on just my moral compass, I couldn't go there. I couldn't go there. Okay. And I got to tell you, I believe in speaking things into existence, and, you know, God willing, who knows, maybe that opportunity will present itself. But if it presented itself during the Trump administration, I would have to respectfully decline. So, Natalie, I don't think it's a position out there that the councilman would accept from our current president. Darnell from Brooklyn wants to know, do you put ketchup on eggs or nah?
Ooh. You know, this just happened to me a couple of days ago when I ordered an egg sandwich and somebody put ketchup on it and I didn't ask for ketchup, and I was quite disappointed. So for me, no ketchup on eggs.
Personally, I feel like ketchup on eggs is disrespectful. Like, if you put ketchup on my eggs, you're really disrespecting my eggs. You can't disrespect, especially, you know, so I make some good eggs, I might add. My eggs are pretty good. So when I see people even reaching for that ketchup, I got a problem with that. It's just a little disrespectful for me. So Darnell from Brooklyn, nah, no ketchup.
Let me follow up on that
as
well. And I could be bougie with this one, but ketchup is one of the laziest condiments ever. Right. So once you refine your palate there's no food that you should eat that you need ketchup to make it taste
Oh,
better.
you schooling us now, right?
Even my fries, like I like a chipotle
Whoa, all
mayo
right. A
or
sriracha,
honey
possibly.
mustard sriracha, but a ketchup is pretty basic.
Maybe
I'm
some
not knocking people that
avocado.
that want it, that enjoy it, because I can have a little bit of it, but there's some quite more robust flavors out there
I think you
than
just made a
ketchup.
whole lot of ketchup lovers upset, though. I think you did.
Sorry.
So we're just going to continue to move right along. So, as a former educator, I know you support schools across Plainfield as a councilman. What do you think is the best option for reopening schools in the fall?
In the fall? Oh, I'm not for reopening schools in the fall. That's
Talk more
just my
about that.
perspective. Many may know I am a founding board member of a charter school in Plainfield, and we're faced with that same question and dilemma right now.
Mm-hmm.
But if it was up to me, we would not open schools at least until 2021 because the dangers are just too great. Until all businesses are safely open and we feel like it's safe enough for everything else, I think our kids should be the last thing that we experiment with in terms of our readiness, our collective readiness to enter, to reopen fully.
How do we get there?
So my plan for the fall is remote learning. We need to continue to double down on our remote learning because let's face it, a pandemic like this of this magnitude or more is something that could happen again. So we can't let schools off the hook in terms of really developing a robust plan for distance or remote learning. This is something that everybody has to have this capability, and every student needs to have access to a computer and internet.
Absolutely.
Everyone, that's just where we need to go in the future.
Right.
We can't say that we didn't see it coming the next time this comes around. You have to be completely ready. And right now is an opportunity to really exercise that when we know we need to, so that the next time this happens, because it probably will at some point in the future. Hopefully, I'm no longer living when this happens again. But we need to get ready and really figure out how to do this distance learning or remote learning correctly.
Yeah, correctly. You're right. And granted, we got work to do. We have some learning to do. And there were some gaps. People, when we started remote learning in the spring, when the pandemic first hit us really hard, people had different entry points, right? And which was expected. Some people had a higher level of capacity and expertise with remote learning, and some people, it was the first time they ever engaged in anything like that. But as an educational system and educational systems across our country, we just need to do a better job of ensuring that our teachers and families and students are more prepared and more equipped to receive high quality remote learning, blended learning, or whatever you want to call it, right? And that work is ongoing. However, I do agree with you that I believe that that's the best space to stay in. Our kids definitely need to matter. Our kids need to be more important than opening stores or opening restaurants to reignite the economy. Like if our kids aren't here, then the economy will be even worse in the future. We got to take care of our children right now. So we're absolutely on the same page with that. And it's scary because there's still some unknowns out there, and we all want our kids to be okay.
And let me add one thing to that.
Please.
Is I'm hopeful that the different Department of Educations make a decision soon, because one of the most difficult things about this right now is the uncertainty. Parents don't know. They don't know whether or not they need additional childcare or when they need childcare, because they don't know what model schools are actually going to adopt. So for those in position in education, I know you're still weighing it and seeing how the numbers come down, et cetera. But given that it's August now, and most schools start at the end of August, the beginning of September, the parents need to plan for their lives for the next 6 months and figure out what they're going to do. So a decision needs to be made soon, for the benefit of all, so that we can all get on with our lives, understand what to expect, so that we can return to normalcy in some way.
No, you're absolutely right. And the reality is, and I think about this all the time, my kids are at a place where they're going to be okay. I'm going to find a way to make sure that they receive a quality education, right? I have a support system for that. But what tugs at my strings is knowing that there's so many marginalized families, and there's so many families out there who may not have those resources, right? And are really struggling with what to do, because you still got to bring money home. You still got to keep the lights on. But then we also got to make sure that Johnny gets a quality education too. And we're really asking families to choose. Like, we're asking families to choose. And I'm not comfortable with that. But of course, I am hopeful. And I know that I do believe that a decision will be made soon. And the unfortunate reality is that whatever decision is made, there's going to be people who are not necessarily happy with whatever that decision is, and then we're just going to have to support them the best we can. But it's definitely ongoing work. I'm all for high quality remote learning or blended learning of some sort, but I want it to be done by teachers who have the capacity to do it well and are held accountable to do it well. So one of the great things I know about you is that you definitely have high expectations of yourself. And you articulated that previously when you were responding to your trajectory from teacher to lawyer to councilman. What's next for Councilman Hockaday?
What's next? What is next? I'm very resistant to look too far into the future, especially in light of the fact that I recently won an election.
Right.
And when people vote you in, it's because they're telling you they want you to do the best you can do in that role.
Absolutely.
So there's many other possibilities.
But that's your next right now.
But right now is, how do I maximize what I can do in this role? So right now I'm council president, for example. And I scribed a letter to the community after George Floyd passed away from a murder, just urging the city to consider and the mayor to consider the reforms that Barack Obama had mentioned in his address. These police reforms.
Right.
And not a month later, the mayor started a George Floyd Commission, where we have community stakeholders who are all having these roundtables and public sessions to figure out what we can do as a city, especially our Black and brown cities. We have a vested interest to lead and show other cities what we can do and how we can tailor our police department to be effective. So I'm really joyous that we created this commission, and I'm hopeful that the commission comes out with some concrete steps to truly overhauling our police system. So to me, there's just a lot of opportunities for me to lead in this role right here, to figure out legislation that we can pass that makes it so that we can succeed more. To figure out how we can have more Black developers in the town, and to figure out how we can educate and employ people in our town to take advantage of the robust growth that Plainfield is experiencing. We have over $500 million in development going on in this small town of 50,000 residents.
Wow.
So there's a lot of opportunity here, and this is opportunity not only to succeed economically, but also to grow educationally, and for people to grow in skills. I want to usher in an era where all of us are able to take advantage of that. So there's just so many opportunities to grow right here. I'm good, right now.
In closing, I just want you to take a few moments to just speak to somebody out there who may be going through something, who may need some motivating, encouraging words, I just want you to just speak life into a young man or a young woman out there who may just need to hear that right now.
Wow. Well, one thing I tell individuals that I talk to, first of all, I make sure they understand that we as Black men are kings. We come from a lineage that they should be proud of. We come from a lineage that is highly intelligent and that is full of ingenuity, so that they should be very proud of where they came from. Secondly, I like to talk to people about balance and protecting their mind space, because in my years as attorney at legal services is only for people who can't afford an attorney. So typically you get individuals who are low income, and when you look at their sources of income, many times you see it's Social Security disability, which means that they are medically depressed, or they medically have some type of illness or infirmity, and most of the time it's mental. So what that tells me is that a lot of times when our people don't succeed, it's because of mental issues or some trauma. It's rarely because of our lack of ability, but many times it's because of our inability to cope, or it's because of the onslaught of oppression that we've experienced through our lifetime, that has made us feel like there is no hope. So I try to encourage people to win the battle that's in between their temples here.
Tell them that.
That's what I try to tell them.
Don't tell me, tell them. Tell them.
Yeah, look, master what's in between your mind. Master what's in between your mind. Because when you can quiet your mind, if you can be sane, I'm telling you, if you can simply remain sane in this crazy world, right, you are always going to be successful. Because what it means to be sane is, even when there are obstacles, even when you get set back, because we all are going to experience setbacks. I've experienced setbacks many times in my life, but it's a resilience, it's an intention to continue to move forward, to continue to be positive, to continue to treat people with respect and dignity, and to do the same for yourself. When you can have those things in your toolkit and remain sane despite the craziness that's going on around you, then success is inevitable, because we as Black people are skilled. We are smart, intelligent beings, and we are bound for success. We just have to master what's in our mind.
And you heard it from Councilman Hockaday. Stay sane in the midst of all this craziness, and success is inevitable. Thank you so much for tuning into Cocktails and Convo. I wish you the best success. I know you're going to continue to do great things as council president, as the 4th Ward councilman of the city of Plainfield. Cocktails and Convo. Steve Gary Hockaday.